Hi everyone. Today I want to share a story that will send shivers down your spine. It's about a man named Alex who encountered something beyond his imagination. Alex had recently moved to a new apartment near his workplace. The building was modern, the rent was affordable, and it was conveniently located. But little did he know this place had a dark history. On his very first night, as Alex was unpacking his belongings, he noticed an eerie silence in the building. It felt unusual, like the kind of silence that makes your skin crawl. He brushed it off, thinking it was just his nerves adjusting to a new environment. But the following evening, something strange happened. Around 7 p.m., Alex heard a faint, almost melodic voice of a woman echoing through the halls. It wasn't coming from any nearby apartment. It was as though the sound was floating. Curious but cautious, Alex stepped out to check. As he walked down the hallway, he saw her. A pale, ghostly figure of a woman in a tattered dress was standing at the end of the corridor. Her eyes were hollow, and her gaze pierced right through him. Alex froze, unable to move. Then, in the blink of an eye, she vanished. That night, Alex didn't sleep. Every creak, every shadow felt like she was coming back. He tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was his imagination or a trick of the light. But deep down, he knew it wasn't. The next day, Alex decided to talk to someone about what he saw. He approached Mr. Howard, the building's security guard, who had been working there for over a decade. Alex hesitated for a moment but eventually blurted out, "I saw something last night." A woman. Mr. Howard's face turned pale. He lowered his voice and said, "You saw Evelyn, Evelyn." That name alone sent chills down Alex's spine. Mr. Howard went on to tell him Evelyn's tragic story. She was a single mother who worked as a cleaner in the building. Life had been cruel to her. She came to the city with big dreams but ended up struggling to survive. Her employer exploited her, making her work long hours for minimal pay. She was always exhausted, always desperate. But despite her hardships, she adored her little daughter, Amelia. One fateful night, Evelyn was working on the 13th floor. No one knows exactly what happened, but she either fell or was pushed from the balcony. Her death was ruled an accident, but rumors suggested otherwise. Some said she was cornered by two drunk men. Others believed she took her own life out of despair. Construction on the building was halted for months after her death. Workers reported seeing her ghost wandering the halls. Tools would go missing, and strange noises echoed at night. Eventually, the building owner called in exorcists, who claimed to have sealed her spirit in a room on the 13th floor. Listening to this, Alex felt a deep sense of unease. Why had Evelyn appeared to him? Was she trying to tell him something? That night, Alex tried to distract himself by watching TV, but the same faint voice returned. This time, it was clearer. It was calling out a name, Amelia. Alex felt a shiver run down his spine. Over the next few days, the sightings became more frequent. He started dreaming about a little girl crying, "Take me to my mother." Alex knew he couldn't ignore this anymore. He went back to Mr. Howard, desperate for answers. After much hesitation, Howard revealed there was someone who knew the full story. George, a former security guard who had been on duty the night Evelyn died. Finding George wasn't easy. He had retired and moved to a small town nearby. But Alex was determined. When he finally met George, the old man was reluctant to talk. It took hours of convincing before he finally opened up. George revealed the horrifying truth. That night, Evelyn was being harassed by two men on the 13th floor. She tried to escape, but in her panic, she fell to her death. George had been the one to find her lifeless body, and her daughter, Amelia, who was hiding nearby, sobbing uncontrollably. George couldn't bear to let the child be taken away by the authorities, so he decided to raise her himself. But guilt consumed him. He knew who the culprits were but stayed silent out of fear. Hearing this, Alex finally understood why Evelyn's ghost had appeared to him. She wanted her daughter to be safe, to have a chance at a better life. Alex convinced George to let him take Amelia to a local orphanage, where she would be cared for. The process wasn't easy. George had grown attached to the girl, but he knew it was for the best. That night, After dropping Amelia off at the orphanage, Alex had a dream. He saw Evelyn smiling at him, her face no longer filled with sorrow. She whispered, "Thank you," before fading into the light. Alex left the apartment building soon after. He realized life wasn't just about chasing success. It was about doing what's right, even when it's difficult.